husband to repay his comrade for saving his life. He gave his newborn son to his comrade in arms and lied to me that the child had unfortunately died. Later, I accidentally learned that my son did not die, and ran to question my husband. But I only got a sentence: "This is what I owe him." I wanted to get my child back, but in the face of my husband's obstruction, I found nothing. In the pain and remorse of losing my child, I died of depression. Little did I know that I would wake up again and go back to the day I gave birth. Like to give away your child, then go be childless old man yourself. I woke up in pain. The body reacted before the brain and gasped out in shock. I tried to move my body, but I couldn't move because of the pressure of my high belly. "What's wrong with you? Are you in labor?" The man pushed his way in with a big stride, carrying 2 metal lunchboxes in one hand. Sword-browed and long, with a formal military uniform. He had all the vigor of a young man. He was my husband, Jacob. But how did he get so young? My heart was full of questions, not staring at Jacob. In the middle of my thoughts, he had already arrived at the bedside. His face was full of anxiety and worry. My body was lighter, and I was picked up from the bed by him. The fresh soap scent lingered in my nose and his stern concern was in my ears. "Why don't you call someone when your water has broken? Do you know that's dangerous? If you don't get it right, you'll die in one body." As I passed by the living room, I saw the wall calendar. My heart was shocked, and my fingers subconsciously pinched the rough fabric. I was actually reborn back to the day I gave birth. In my previous life today, I was in pain for more than 2 hours before giving birth to this child. The child turned its head and was given by Jacob to his comrade in arms. He lied to me that the child was underfed in the womb and unfortunately died. I believed him and blamed myself for not being able to save the baby. Later, I learned by chance that the child was not dead, and wanted to get the child back but was prevented by Jacob in every way. In the face of my questioning, the man looked indifferent and took it for granted. Jianan lost his eligibility to be a father forever in order to save me. This child is what I owe him. He will only have this one child in his life, but we will have many, many more. Sanrua. Forget about that child. Just pretend he was born and lost. It's better for everyone. Good. Who's better? It's only you who are better off. That's the baby I carried in October, not a gift to repay your kindness. Jacob and I had a big fight and set out to find the child. But Jacob was so powerful. He rose through the ranks, and he had his hands full. He was always able to cut off the clues of my child in time, leaving me with all efforts in vain. I lived in pain and remorse for the loss of my child, and died in my early 40s in a state of depression. But God was kind enough to let me live again. This time, I would never allow anyone to take my child away from me. The surprise of being born again swept over me. My heart was beating wildly, and even my breath was shortened a bit. No, I was about to give birth, and I couldn't have just Jacob by my side. "Wait," I demanded with difficulty, holding back the throbbing pain underneath me. "You go and take a telegram for my house, so that my mom can take care of me. I'm scared to death of having a baby for the first time." I tilted my head and all I could see was Jacob's sharp jawline. He smiled softly and looked down at me, soothingly. "Mother-in-law probably won't have time to take care of you now that the farm is busy. Don't be afraid. I'm your husband. You and the baby will be safe with me," he said as he brought along the things he would use for labor. My heart sank. Next door, sister-in-law Fong heard the commotion and enthusiastically opened the door to inquire. "Xiao Sang is about to give birth. Do you need any help?" Sister-in-law Fong is the lover of political commissar, warm and generous, and fair in her dealings. The two of us have a good relationship. With her around, it won't be too easy for Jacob to make any moves. Thinking of this, the fire of hope was lit up in my heart again. So I prayed to her with a trembling voice. Sister-in-law, can I trouble you to accompany me to the hospital? I'm inexperienced in giving birth for the first time, and I'm so nervous right now that my heart is about to jump out. Sister-in-law Fong put down her half-naked insoles and smiled brightly. All right. I'll accompany you. Your first time being parents, you'll definitely have your hands full, and you'll be able to make fewer mistakes by going to help. Seeing sister-in-law Fang's quick agreement, my half-hanging heart slowly fell back to its original position. In the next second, Jacob's cool voice came from above my head. He justifiably rejected sister-in-law Fang's good intentions. Sister-in-law, your family's Xiaoxi is still young and can't be separated from others. What will he do if you go to the hospital? Hospitals are crowded with people. It's not good for little kids to stay there for too long. Xiaoxi is Mrs. Fang's youngest son, 2 years old this year, is the lively and active age. Jacob's words have some sense, said to Mrs. Fang's heart. As a mom, she always has to think of her children. Ms. Fong began to hesitate, and Jacob gave her another guarantee, which completely discouraged her from going to the hospital. I've been to the hospital in advance and am familiar with the situation there. Besides, I'm a big man. I can always take care of my wife and kids. Sister-in-law don't worry is all. Sister-in-law Fong nodded her head repeatedly, clearly having been convinced. My half-dropped heart hung even higher. I went to reach sister-in-law Fang's hand under the urging of pain and said pitifully. Sister-in-law, I'm in pain and scared. Please accompany me to the hospital. Okay. I flip-flopped about my fears. Hate that no one knows about Jacob's intentions, and no one would believe me even if I said it right now. After all, how could a sane man give his child away without his wife's knowledge? In my previous life, I was so convinced of the death of my child. If I hadn't happened to see that money order, I would never have known that my husband was so selfless and honorable. He was willing to give his own child to others. I was sweating profusely from the pain. My lips were pale and I looked miserable. Sister-in-law Fang's face showed her intolerance and was ready to loosely agree. Okay, then I will. Wow, 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 wow. The loud cries of a child came from sister-in-law Fang's house. A 7 or 8-year-old boy ran out to call out. Mom, my brother pooped a pocket of pants. Giving the bed everywhere. Stinks. Sister-in-law Fang's face changed. The scales in her heart immediately tilted. She smiled in embarrassment. Xiao sang ah. Sister-in-law has a lot of family matters. She really can't leave for a moment. When you give birth, I will definitely go to the hospital to see you. With Jinghuai accompanying you, I'm very relieved. It's with Jacob that I'm not at ease. The baby's cries grew louder and louder. Sister-in-law Fong hurriedly turned around to coax the baby. Jacob carefully turned me upwards, still with that everything is under control expression. Don't be afraid. I'm here. I was in too much pain to talk and rolled my eyes hard in Jacob's arms. Wrapping my arms around his neck, I bit down hard on the soft flesh on the side of his neck. Hiss. I heard him suck in a cool breath of pain. The boy had his share of pain, so why should I be the only one in pain? A small breath of bad air, but my heart couldn't stop sinking. The feeling of despair that I knew the road ahead was dangerous but couldn't avoid it was drowning me. But I couldn't resign myself to my fate. God had allowed me to start all over again. Never for me to come and retrace the same steps I had taken in my last life. I let go of Jacob's neck and leaned against his shoulder to gather my strength. The pull had failed and the hospital was my last chance. The hospital is my last chance. All the way downstairs to walk through the military housing complex. The main door has long been parked in front of a car waiting for us. Jacob held me walk steadily. A lot of people on the road saw it and gave me looks of envy or jealousy. Who battalion commander is capable and considerate. I heard he took half a month's vacation to take care of Songru. How come my family can't learn half of Who battalion commander's good qualities? Humph. Why is Songruo so valuable? I was still harvesting corn when I started, and I gave birth on the spot. Not only did I have to carry the baby when I got home, but I also had to carry a half-woven basket of corn. In my previous life, I only thought they were envious and jealous, and felt incredibly sweet. Now it sounds full of irony. Jacob, the good husband and excellent man in the eyes of outsiders, would actually snatch my child in return for favors. After I found out, he even justifiably asked me to have more children. In a previous life out of absolute trust in Jacob, I didn't realize how dangerous it was to give birth without a loved one. This time I was still isolated. The only difference was that I knew what he was planning. In the car, Jacob held me and whispered comforting words, urging the driver to go faster from time to time. His face was so concerned that he was eager to take his place as a good husband. I closed my eyes and rested my head. The corner of my lips hooked up a seemingly ironic arc. Jacob, you are so nervous. Is it because you care about the safety of me and the child? Or are you worried that if the child has an accident, you won't be able to repay your comrades for saving your life? The day the child is not sent out, you have to suffer a day of conscience. There were no words along the way. I was sent into the maternity ward. The bright incandescent light shook my eyes and hurt. With the experience of my previous life, I tried to adjust the rhythm of my breathing and exertion. I don't know how long the pain lasted. All I felt was relief underneath me and something slipped out. Wow. The baby's clear cry only sounded once and then ended abruptly. Why isn't the baby crying? I fought to support my upper body, only to see the hurried back of a nurse. Baby. My baby. Where are you taking my baby? I tried to go after him, but I was pinned to the delivery bed by the doctor. He wore a mask, revealing only a pair of eyes with my familiar compassion in them. This comrade. Your child was born without air. It's not advisable to have great joy and sorrow after giving birth, so for the sake of your health, it's better to let your husband take care of the child's aftermath. I was cold and angry. It turned out that the doctors and nurses who delivered my baby had long been paid off by Jacob. No matter what state I was in after giving birth, they would all say the same thing: the baby died. In my previous life, I was exhausted and passed out, and I believed Jacob's words and those of the doctors and nurses. But in my second life, I knew exactly what Jacob was going to do. So I didn't believe a word they said. Son, wait for mommy. Mommy will get you back. With anger in my eyes, I slapped the doctor on the back of his hand and questioned loudly. I clearly heard the baby crying. Where did you carry my baby? The doctor was not annoyed by the beating and shook his head helplessly. Several children were born around the same time as yours. It's normal to get sidetracked. You're still young. Get well. The child will come again. Familiar words. Familiar tone. The doctor's face kept changing in front of my eyes. One moment it was the faces of my sisters-in-law. Xiao sang ah. If the child is gone you can have another one. If you make the family go away you'll lose everything. You don't sulk with Hu battalion commander. Give the child away, he also does not feel good ah. The gift of life is larger than life. Not return him how to feel at ease. A moment later is Jacob impatient look. Sang Ruah. How long are you going to make a scene? Jianan could never have children again to save me. I owe him for that. I deserve to pay him back with a child for his old age. I tightened my fists and crumpled the sheets beneath me. It seemed like Jacob was the only one in the world who didn't have it easy. Had taken Lucas' life-saving gift and suffered with guilt. So he had to give his own son away so that he could live a little more at ease. He was in so much trouble, in so much pain. And I As Jacob's wife, I didn't give the child to Lucas with joy and drums. Instead, I kept making a fuss to get the child back. I've been making a mess of the house and annoying Jacob to no end. It's a terrible crime. My sister-in-laws are always trying to persuade me to give up the baby, because it's not theirs. Since it wasn't theirs, they could certainly talk me into being generous, and Jacob unzipped his pants and said that he would give me another child as a gift. It was easy for him to say. He didn't have to bear the labor of carrying a child in October. So of course he could repay the favor with a child, in exchange for his peace of mind and a good reputation for gratitude. But no one asked me if I wanted to. All the aggression, heartache and resentment of my past and present lives erupted together. I suddenly felt full of strength. That was my child, and no one could take it away from me. I grabbed the doctor's collar and sat up with his strength, hissing like an evil spirit. Who are you to say my child is dead? If you don't have a ghost in your heart, why don't you dare to show me my child? The doctor was strangled by the tightened collar. The nurse on the side rushed over to break my fingers. Cough, cough, cough. The laboring woman is overly emotional. Get a sedative. The doctor managed to break free from the restraints and hoarsely ordered the nurse to do something. The nurse numbly handed over a syringe and pressed me down on the bed again. The doctor pushed the plunger, the sharp needle approaching me with a chilling light. No, I must not fall asleep. In my previous life, I searched for 20 years without being able to find my child. If I didn't intercept Lucas today, I would still be repeating the tragedy of my previous life. I took a deep breath as my brain raced. The second before the needle pierced my skin, I brightened up and shouted at the door. Jing Huai, why are you here? The doctor subconsciously looked back. I jerked up and slammed my head against the nurse's chest. The nurse took a few steps back, covering her chest and shouting in pain. I snatched the syringe and stabbed it hard into the doctor's bloody shoulder. The force was so great that it was like I wanted to vent out all the grievances of 2 lifetimes. As a doctor with no medical ethics, not only did he cooperate with Jacob to steal my baby, but he even tried to sedate me. You should taste it first. The tranquilizer took effect quickly, and the doctor fell to the floor, sleeping soundly. I braced myself and got out of bed, put a thick layer of toilet paper in my pants, and slowly walked out of the maternity ward, holding onto the wall. People were coming and going outside the delivery room, but there was no sign of Jacob. Was he that eager to deliver the baby? Before I could walk a few steps, the nurse I bumped into in the maternity ward ran out and pulled me back, her tone not kind. Comrade saying, "You've just given birth. You should be lying in bed and resting well, so don't walk around and cause trouble for our medical staff. In this day and age, the doctor and nurse end of the spectrum is a secure government job, and the common people have much respect for them." As soon as the nurse's words fell, a blue-clothed lady immediately stood out to accuse me. "Yes, girl, the hospital is busy all day long, so don't cause trouble for others," the crowd of onlookers murmured. "This girl is also too unintelligent, can come to the hospital to give birth to a child and not cherish it, blindly run what? Net to other comrade nurses to cause trouble. The hospital is not for her alone." The nurse saw that she had gained support, even more complacent, but also put on a look of aggrieved. "Serving the people, this is all what we should do." Her hand was like an eagle's claw against my arm, and she called for another nurse to hold me up on the left and right. Comrade saying, "Let's help you back to the ward to lie down." As I passed in front of the elder lady, I curiously said, "Maiden, are you waiting for your daughter-in-law or daughter here?" Speaking of this, the elder lady smiled and narrowed her eyes. "My daughter-in-law is giving birth inside. She has a pointy belly, so she'll definitely give birth to a big fat kid." "Oh," I said meaningfully. suddenly raising my voice. I tried to be heard by the crowd of onlookers. "Ayo, ma'am. You have to be careful then. I suspect that this hospital is stealing children to sell them. It's unconscionable, regardless of the era. Human traffickers are an abhorrent existence." My words were like a drop of water falling into a frying pan, and there was an uproar all around. The nurse got anxious and stomped her foot to retort me. "Who stole your child and sold it? You have to speak with evidence. Oh, if you don't have a ghost in your heart, why don't you let me see my child? Why did you bite the bullet and say he was out of breath at birth?" The nurse took a few steps back under my chain of questions, and even loosened her grip on me. "You're being very kind. You've only just given birth, and we're worried that you'll get emotional seeing the baby, which is why we're not letting you see it. What do you care? We're doing this for your own good," she said stiffly. I let out a bitter laugh. My face was miserable. "That's the child I gave birth to in October, a piece of flesh that fell from my body. Am I not even qualified to see him?" I paused, and my words changed. "The fact that you guys are doing everything you can to obstruct me and prevent me from seeing the child, doesn't it show that you have ghosts in your hearts? What can you do with a child that young, other than taking it and selling it to human traffickers? I can't think of any other possibility." The crowd of onlookers grew larger and larger, and I added more fuel to the fire. "To tell you the truth, my husband is a soldier and I am proud to feel him. This is our first child, and I can't believe it's just disappeared from your hospital, alive without a body. They say that hospitals are places to save lives, but I think your hospital is a filthy place to hide dirt." I pursued the attack, loudly provoking the others to be suspicious of the hospital. "You all dare to do something to a soldier's child. Who knows if you'll do anything to anyone else's child, whether the child is dead or alive. The parents should always be allowed to meet. If you all cover up like you do, who will dare to come to the hospital to give birth in the future?" People would only come forward to express their dissatisfaction when their own interests were involved. The blue-clothed matron put away her expression of watching a good show and stopped in front of the nurse to prevent her from leaving. "Comrade nurse, what's wrong with my daughter-in-law? Can you let me go in and take a look? Otherwise I don't feel at ease with the older woman as a pioneer." Other family members of the woman in labor swarmed up. They asked about the condition of the mother and the child. The two nurses were drowned in the crowd and had no time for me. I retired on my own merits, walked out of the hospital in one breath, and crossed a street to the post office. "Hey, is this Comrade Public Security? I want to report." 2 hours later, I sat in the lobby of the Public Security Bureau with a glass of warm water. A police car stopped in front of the Public Security Bureau. Jacob got out of the car with a black face. Then there was Lucas, a comrade who had saved Jacob's life, and finally Amelia, who was carefully holding her child. "Sang-Rua, why are you here?" Jacob seemed surprised to see me. How could he not be surprised? According to the original plan, he should be at the train station at this moment to see Lucas and his wife return to their hometown with their child. From now on, the mountains and the water will never meet, and he will live with a clear conscience. I laughed and dropped a bomb in his ear. "Because I'm the one who reported you guys." Jacob stepped forward, his tall body enveloping me firmly. He lowered his voice and gritted his teeth. "How can you report sister-in-law Chiolon as enemy speed? Is this something to just joke about, in order to intercept Mr. and Mrs. Lucas as fast as possible? I could only come up with this plan. Otherwise, how am I going to retrieve my child? Say the kid was taken by his father. Public security will think it's a family dispute and probably won't even care. Say the child was abducted by a trafficker. I didn't see the child's face, and I can't even tell you what characteristics the child has. There are many cases of lost children. Why should I be the first to be arrested? That's why I took the risk and reported Amelia as an enemy spy, absconding with important military secrets. I was right. Now Jacob is still a battalion commander, far from being the only one who can control the world. Jacob can't get away with enemy spy on Amelia's head. And Jacob can't get away with questioning me. I just want my baby. What's wrong with me? I splashed the rest of the water in my glass in Jacob's face. Tears rose to his eyes and his face faded into a blur. So what do you think I should do? You took my baby before I was even out of the delivery room, joining forces with the doctors and nurses to lie to me about the baby's death. You know what's good for you. You're high-minded. And you're going to give my child away as a compensatory gift. Did you ask my opinion? On what basis did you? On the basis that you contributed 3 minutes. In a moment of excitement, the words came out of my mouth. The last sentence I almost roared out. It spread to every corner of the Public Security Bureau's hall. The people who heard it were embarrassed and pretended to be busy. Jacob's face was blue and his aura was as cold as an ice cellar. I knew he was angry. But I wasn't afraid and continued to meet his sharp gaze. He pulled me aside. Sang-Ruah, what are you babbling about in broad daylight? Seeing that I didn't respond, he pressed his eyebrows and softened his tone. Sang-Ruah. That's also my child. Giving the child away would be just as bad for me, but Jianan only lost his fertility in order to save me, and when sister-in-law Qilan heard the bad news, she was so shocked that she accidentally miscarried. If Jianan hadn't saved me, it's still unknown whether I would be able to stand here properly today. One should know how to repay kindness. Giving the child to Jianan so that he can also enjoy father-son bonding is the last thing I can do for him. Jacob always has so many grandiose reasons. I wiped away the tears from the corners of my eyes and tried to hide the crying. Yes, yes, yes. It's not easy for brother Zhou. It's not easy for sister Qilan. Only I have it the easiest. Only I should understand all of you. Jacob. I've been married to you for 5 years and spent 4 years in your hometown. Serving my in-laws and taking care of my younger siblings. I had to take care of everything at home and outside the house. And your mom still had to think I was a hen that didn't lay eggs. But at that time you were fighting in the army, and you didn't come home all year round. So who was I going to have a baby with? You picked me up for military spouse. And it wasn't long before I got pregnant. I thought I was finally going to have a good life. But what about you? You teamed up with the doctors and nurses to lie to me that the baby was dead just so you could give it away to make up for your guilt. Jacob, are you human? Jacob's brows furrowed and his face was serious. Sang-Ruah, the kindness of saving my life is greater than my life. I can't not repay it. You want children. We can have many more. I brushed his hand away. You're a man. How could you understand how hard it was for me to carry a child in October? That child is just a thank you gift to you for repaying the favor of saving your life. But it's a blood baby to me. I will never let you take my child. No one. I covered my stomach and walked around Jacob to stand in front of Amelia. The skin of a child who had only just been born was red and wrinkled. Not really a pretty sight. But I was already in tears. Because this was the first time in 2 lifetimes that I had seen my baby. Sister-in-law, this is my child. Please give him back to me. I reached out my hand to Amelia. But Amelia hugged her child and hid behind Lucas. Mumbling. This is my baby. This is my baby. No one is taking my baby. Jacob came over to stop me. Sanjo, how much longer are you going to make a scene? There is no child of yours here. How can you have the nerve to ask for something back that has already been given away? A child is a thing, a contraption at his disposal in his eyes. I raised my hand over Jacob's face and mocked out against his disbelieving gaze. And what kind of a thing are you that you dare to scream in my face when it's my child Amelia is holding? In a cloud of almost stagnant air. I turned my head to confess to public security. Comrade Public Security, I lied. Amelia is not an enemy spy. She's just an ordinary person who followed her husband Lucas back home. My husband Jacob, in order to repay his comrade Lucas for saving his life, hid from me that he was going to give the child to Mr. and Mrs. Lucas to raise. In order to have the child's last name Chow for good, Jacob would not let me know a dime about the child. I had no choice but to call and report Amelia, hoping to use your power to stop them and get my child back. With tears in my voice, I bowed to the public security officers present. They'll admit to whatever punishment you guys can give me, but please be considerate of a mother's heart and let sister-in-law Chiu Lan return my child to me. The public security officers looked at each other. I didn't expect that enemy speed didn't get caught, but watched a bitter drama instead. Another life-saving favor. Another child delivery. What's going on here? Lucas finally figured out the whole story and couldn't help but look at Jacob. Jinghuai, didn't you say that the younger siblings also agreed to this? What's going on now? Jacob couldn't speak. This. Originally agreed. Who knows that Sang Rua temporarily reneged? Lucas waved his hand to interrupt him. Okay. I can kind of see. Younger siblings didn't agree at all. It's all because you made up your own mind. Jinghuai, saving you was something I did willingly, out of the comradeship and brotherhood between us, and never for the sake of asking for your return. I believe that if you and I had swapped situations at that time, you would have saved me without hesitation as well. Sibling is right. Everyone has difficulties. You can't ask others to sympathize with our difficulties. You three live a good life as a family. Don't worry about me. But Jacob wanted to say something. His eyebrows filled with shame. Lucas smiled easily and patted Jacob's shoulder. Don't worry. I still have 3 younger brothers back home. A whole bunch of nieces and nephews. Just for the sake of money, there will be people willing to give us old age. The pretense of a dashing smile carried a bit of heartache. How could nieces and nephews compare to one's own biological children? Fingernails sink into the flesh and blood of my palm. The sharp pain instantly brought me to my senses. I silently bowed my head and sighed. It was all fate. I sympathized with Lucas, but would never give him my child out of pity. Chiu Lan, give the baby back to your sibling. Lucas turns around and gently persuades Amelia, who winces a little and holds the baby tighter. She had a paranoid frenzy on her face, and it was hairy to watch. You're talking nonsense. This is my child. Look how much he looks like me. There are bad people out there who want to steal my child. I won't let go. Lucas sat down next to her and took her shoulders and patted them gently. He sighed deeply. The Sichuan lines on his brow were deep. The child belongs to Jinghuai and his younger siblings. We can't just think of ourselves but let their flesh and bones be separated. Chiu Lan, it's me who's sorry. You can still give birth. Why don't we divorce earlier? Or better than letting you follow me without a son or daughter. Amelia automatically filtered out the other information and only heard the word divorce. So she yelled with red eyes. Divorce. You actually want to divorce me, Lucas? Do you have a conscience or not? Her voice was a bit sharp. The child in her arms was scared and cried loudly. Lucas took the opportunity to divert her attention. This child hasn't had a sip of milk since he was born. Look how pitifully he's crying. Let's let him drink his milk and pick him up later. Okay. Amelia cared about the baby and slowly loosened her grip under Lucas' coaxing. I received Lucas' look and stepped forward to pick up the child. As the child fell into my arms, my heart ached and rose. Counting our previous lives, we had been separated for more than 20 years. The heartache and joy of being lost and found came together and actually brought me to tears. I secretly swore in my heart. This time, I will definitely accompany my child to grow up properly. Since it is a misunderstanding, the public security as usual inquiries of few let us go. Lucas couple missed today's train. intends to go to stay guest house tomorrow to buy tickets back to their hometown. On the way back to the army, Jacob's face has been smelly, as if I owe him thousands of dollars. I put my head down and coaxed the kids, not willing to look at his face. Once we entered the house, Jacob couldn't help himself. "You're satisfied now." Originally, by giving the child to Jianan to raise, I could not only repay him for saving my life, but also appease Chiolan's sister-in-law's pain of losing her son. With you making such a mess, they have nothing left but to return home empty-handed. Jianan is not on good terms with his family, and his nieces and nephews won't genuinely be able to support them in their old age. I'm a brother to him. How can I watch him have a miserable old age? Jacob rubbed his face carelessly, accusing me irritably. It was as if I had done something so heinous that God would never forgive me. But I just wanted to raise my child myself. What was wrong with me? My body was as weak as a sieve after just giving birth. Fighting in the hospital and arguing with Jacob at the police station all drained my energy. Now I just want to eat and sleep. Since Jacob is so blind and has to make things difficult for me. Don't blame me for killing people. The child drank malted milk powder and slept soundly. I put the baby back in the bedroom, closed the door, and walked over to the couch to sit down. You talk about repaying favors, but I have two ways to do so here. It's up to you to choose. Jacob casts a skeptical look. I took a sip of warm water and cleared my throat. First, you can waste yourself. You're ashamed of Brother Zhou and feel that you caused him to lose his fertility, so why don't you waste yourself to be with him as well? This way both you and he can't have children, and you two will be tied. Don't worry, even if you lose your fertility. Our newborn child won't dislike you and will still be there for you in the future. Jacob was annoyed and balked. What kind of stupid idea did you come up with? Is it a good idea to talk about my lack of fertility? I smiled indifferently and continued with my ideas. Secondly, you don't have to waste yourself. You just need to divorce me, and then get Big Brother Zhou and sister-in-law Qilan divorced. They'll take the child and marry Big Brother Zhou for a second time, and you'll marry sister-in-law Qilan for a second time. This way, Big Brother Zhou has a child wearing mourning attire. And you can have a few more children with sister-in-law Qilan to soothe her pain of losing her son. As the saying goes, a friend's wife is not to be deceived. My words were simply explosive in this day and age. Jacob's chest was heaving up and down from my anger. I pretended not to see it and continued to add fuel to the fire. It's easy enough for you to have kids anyway. When the time comes you can have as many as you want and harvest a bunch of them in a few minutes of busy work. It's less work than planting crops. Sandro. Jacob was completely enraged by my couldn't careless attitude. He came to me with a leap of his long legs and pinched my chin to hold me down on the couch. Is divorce something you can just say? You're not afraid of losing face. But I can't afford to lose face. Ha 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 ha. I suddenly burst out laughing, again having to mind my stomach lest the wound split open. The man was like an enraged lion. His body was filled with anger, coupled with the decisiveness given to him by his long years of military service. I should have been afraid. Instead, I saw the selfish cowardice he hid under the skin of gratitude. It turned out that Jacob, who was a powerful man in his previous life, was also just a vulgar man. I curbed my laughter and locked eyes with him without fear. Shame. Divorce disgraceful. Send the child out to repay the favor for you is not disgraceful. Jacob, your heart is set on repaying the favor. I gave you the method of repaying the favor. Why don't you choose one? Because you don't want to lose your fertility, and you don't want to jeopardize your promotion by getting divorced in the nick of time. See, you're selfish enough to give away a child, but when you're really asked to make drastic sacrifices, you won't do anything about it. Jacob's face was stunned, and the strength in his hands gradually dissipated. I nudged his chest and teased. It seems that your repayment is just a loud slogan. Not sincere at all. Punctured by me. Jacob's face turned red and he couldn't wait to retort to me. What do you know? Jianan and I are like brothers. And he would never want to see me self-destruct. Being discharged from the army due to injury is his biggest regret. I will carry his dream higher and farther in the army to be worthy of his saving my life. These words are great, honorable, and right. I don't know if he believes it or not. I don't believe it anyway. But well, life is hard to get confused. It is meaningless to be catty. Taking advantage of the fact that he was distracted, I pushed him away to sit up and said faintly, I'm not interested in your touching brotherhood. I just want to raise the child properly. In the future, our wells do not interfere with the river water. It is best if we each live our own lives. After saying that, I went into the kitchen and cooked myself a bowl of egg noodles, leaving Jacob sitting on the couch out of his mind. I didn't want to look at his dead face, so I washed the dishes and locked myself in the bedroom to watch the kids. I don't know if my words that day were too deafening, but Jacob was very honest for the next month. On the day of his postpartum confinement period, Jacob specially cooked 3 dishes and 1 soup, saying that he wanted to apologize to me. He put a bowl of chicken soup in front of me. Sang Ruah. This is hen I specifically asked the comrades in the logistics department to buy. To give you a good tonic. His eyes were smiling, his gaze burning, itching to personally feed the soup into my mouth. I suddenly thought of something. The spoon reached my mouth and stopped. The baby seems to be waking up. I'll go check. Jacob raised his hand to stop me. I'll go check. Just drink the soup. It won't taste good if it gets cold. I was non-committal. There is a devil when things go wrong. I backhanded the bowl of chicken soup into Jacob's bowl, touching the spoon a couple times before he came out. I wiped the corners of my mouth and laughed. This chicken soup is so good. And since you've been training so hard these days, I got you a bowl too. Drink it quickly. Jacob saw the soup at the bottom of my bowl and breathed a sigh of relief visible to the naked eye. He picked up the bowl of soup and drank it all in one go. After you and I had had our fill of wine, Jacob began to reveal his true purpose. Last week I received a letter from Jinan saying that sister-in-law Chilan is not doing well and is always clamoring for a baby. Jianan has to work and take care of Kyolan's sister-in-law at the same time, so he's really distracted. I thought about it. If sister-in-law Chialan had a child to distract her, their days could be better. That's why I'm planning to take advantage of this vacation to send our child to Jinan. Later, Jacob's eyelids gradually became heavy, and he soon fell asleep on the table. Oh, so it's sleeping pills. Something that used to be used on me in a previous life. Every time I found out something about the kid, he slipped sleeping pills into my water and food, making me miss it. This time, it's time for you to get a taste of sleeping pills. When Jacob woke up in the evening, I was putting the baby to bed. He rubbed his temples, and when he saw me and the baby were there, he patted his head and finally reacted. Sanjay, I can't believe you're giving me sleeping pills. I shot back lazily, not bothering to share a look with him. It's just a case of doing unto others as they do unto you. What are you getting so worked up about? He snarled in impotent rage. Do you realize you're breaking my business? What business? The big thing of sending the child away. I didn't realize you were a thief and wanted to take my child as a favor. I scoffed, cutting my throat. As long as I'm around, I'll never let you take my child. Since you have your heart set on giving Lucas a child, let's get a divorce. After the divorce you find someone willing to give you a child and then you can give away as many as you want. Not only Lucas. You can even give children to infertile men in all of China. They will surely put up a monument of longevity for you to thank you. I taunted Layman. Jacob slapped his hand on the table to show his battalion commander's majesty. Don't you dare mess with me. These are two different things at all. And I will never agree to a divorce. Don't even think about it. Marriage involving military personnel protects the interests of the military. But who asked Jacob to personally deliver his leverage? It's only natural that I, as the bitter victim who almost lost my child, would be so scared that I'd want a divorce. Right. I've always been a practical person, and when I say divorce, I mean it. The next day, the news of my divorce from Jacob spread throughout the military housing complex. And my sisters-in-law came to my door to discourage me. Couples fight at the head of the bed and make up at the end of the bed. There's no such thing as a bitter feud. You still have a son. Just for his sake, you have to live on. Oh, the child is so young you want to divorce. Really sinful yo. Parents divorce. The child will be stigmatized. You can't just want your own pleasure. Disregard the mood of the child, right? Those who came to the door to watch the fun, advised me, criticized me, and put in a good word for Jacob were all put off by me. The leader also talked to me. Said that marriage is not child's play. Let me think more for the child. I wiped a tear of heartache and spilled my guts. If I didn't have to, I wouldn't want to get a divorce. Comrade Lucas has saved my family Jinghui's life. I've remembered it all my life and am willing to repay him. But Jinghui followed like a demon, and insisted on giving our only born child to Big Brother Zhou, so that the child would give him his old age. The day I only gave birth, Jinghui joined with the doctors and nurses to lie to me that the child died prematurely, when in fact he secretly gave the child to Big Brother Zhou. If I hadn't been smart and gotten help from the public security, I would have never seen my child again. Later, he was still not determined and put sleeping pills in my chicken soup again, trying to give the child away. I clutched the handkerchief I was wiping my tears with firmly in my hand and cried until I couldn't catch my breath. Jacob took it upon himself to try to give the baby away several times on the strength of being its father. There's only 1,000 days to be a thief, not 1,000 days to prevent a thief. And I haven't always been able to stop him. So, in order to keep the child with me, I would rather divorce Jacob. Please ask the leaders for approval. The leaders didn't know there was such an inside story. Looking at each other two by two, they both saw shock in each other's eyes. Marriage is a matter for two people. I insisted on divorce. The leaders could not say anything else. Jacob heard that I insisted on divorce, a moment of anger, and filed a divorce report. The day of the divorce formalities, he viciously said, "I'd like to see how you support yourself and your children." The sun was just right, and the air smelled of new life. I flashed a genuine smile. Then don't bother with who battalion commander. I hugged my child and got on the train home. There was still a year to go before the college entrance exams would be resumed. This time, I can completely make my child live a superior life with my own ability. Ma. My son tremblingly held the chest of drawers toward me. Milky voice shouted my heart to melt. I held my son in my arms, and on the table was an acceptance letter from Peking University Medical School. A few years later, I successfully graduated and entered the military hospital. In the middle of the night one day, I was urgently called back to the hospital for an operation. Jacob was lying on the operating table, and I raised my eyebrows. At the time of graduation allocation, I purposely chose a military hospital far away from Jacob's. I didn't expect to go around in circles. I didn't expect to run into him. My thoughts turned 1,000 times. I collected my mind and focused on the surgery. At the end of the day, the sky was already white. Jacob's leg is considered to be saved, as long as rest and recuperation is good. He is not a lowly person, and the dean asked me to take care of him. I have no choice but to comply. I thought that with the mask on, Jacob shouldn't be able to recognize me, right? "Sandro, is that you?" The man's hesitant inquiry came from behind me as he checked out and left. I signaled for the others to go first and turned to remove my mask. Openly. Yes. It's me. Jacob's eyes widened and he lifted the covers, struggling to sit up. I walked over to the hospital bed and stopped him in his tracks. I'm not going to take a personal vendetta. And if you're not comfortable with that, you can ask the hospital for a different doctor. Jacob was a little flustered. No, I didn't think so. I was just a little surprised. He rubbed his fingers together, weighing his words. It's been hard for you with the kids all these years, hasn't it? To say it wasn't hard would be a lie. In 2 lifetimes of living, I was raising a child as a mother for the first time. Taking the child to class during the day. At night, when the child went to bed, I could chew on those large specialized books under the kerosene lamp. It was hard work in the cold winter months and hot summer months, but I felt satisfied with this fulfilling life. The hardship is not known to outsiders, nor do they have to be known to outsiders. I put my hands in my pockets and smiled blandly. It's all in the past. An awkward silence fell over the hospital room. Jacob spoke tentatively. Is the baby okay? A smile involuntarily tugged at the corners of my mouth as I remembered my son's little smugness the day before when he came home with a perfect math paper. My son is fine. Active, cheerful, healthy, and getting good grades. They'll bring him to see you this afternoon. Sang Ruah. Jacob called out to me. I turned back, my eyes puzzled. I asked around and heard that you've been living alone with your child all these years. Since divorcing you, I am also alone. Do you see if we can? Remarry. I didn't even think about it and flatly refused. Jacob was puzzled. Sang Ruah. 7 years. How long do you want to hold a grudge against me? Well, it doesn't matter to you. You should always think about your son, right? All his classmates have a father. But he doesn't. How can you let him live with himself? Don't you know that having a father who is in a high position can save the child a lot of detours? It was said with a great sense of righteousness and a look of concern for the child. I pulled out my chair and sat down. First of all, I don't hate you. It takes a lot of time and energy to hate someone, and I have too much to do to hate you. I just try to forget about you. If I hadn't operated on you this time, I would have forgotten you even existed. Secondly, you don't have to worry at all about your son having low self-esteem at school. Because I've been telling him for as long as he can remember that his father died bravely defending his country and was an amazing hero. And he's very proud of you yet. Jacob coughed violently. You actually cursed me to death. My eyes went cold and I squared my shoulders. 7 years ago you secretly gave your son to Lucas. And if you had succeeded, he would have had only Lucas as a father. And wouldn't you, his real father, have been dead to him? I let you get what you wanted. Why are you still angry? Once upon a time I was larded up. But 7 years is enough time for me to think clearly. Bringing up the events of that year. Jacob's temper instantly shortened by 3 points. Sang Ruah. I realized that I can't let go of you or our son. I wrapped my hands around my chest and sneered. It takes you 7 years to think about something like that. I'm just an ordinary person with a child, unable to have extensive connections to erase the traces so you can't find us. But if you had a mind to, you would have sent some money and a ticket, and taken the responsibility of being a father. But you didn't. Why didn't you? Is it because you felt humiliated by divorcing me and wanted to see me turn back to you in a mess? Jacob tried to explain. No, you misunderstand me. The rivers and mountains are easy to change their nature. I had seen through him a long time ago and didn't want to listen to his bullshit. If we were reunited and you were high and mighty and I was down and out, you'd just laugh at my stupidity for daring to divorce you in the first place. But what really happened was that I became one of the top doctors in the military hospital. Your manly lust for conquest came back. And you thought that my ex-wife who was a military doctor was barely good enough for you. So you mercifully wanted to remarry me. I took a deep, solemn breath. Jacob, I'm going to say this one last time. There's no way in hell we're getting remarried. If you come back to pester me again, I will take the child and leave here. China is so big. There will always be a place for us mother and son. Jacob deflated and lay back on the bed in dismay. Okay. They'll never mention it again. You and the child have a good life. I took my son to see Jacob in the afternoon. On the way home, my son wrinkled his brow in confusion. Mom, Dad is obviously alive. Why did you say he sacrificed himself? I told him what happened back then originally, trying to be fair and objective without personal feelings. I'm sorry that Mommy lied to you. I knelt down to be level with him and stroked his head with one hand. My son's eyes rolled back in his head and he continued to ask questions. Mommy, if I was given to Uncle Joe by Daddy at that time, would I never see you again? I nodded. Unexpectedly, my son jumped into my arms, tightly wrapped his arms around my neck. And Jared, I don't want to be separated from Mom. Dad is bad. I'll never see him again. I hugged him for a while to comfort him, and finally coaxed him with a dish of braised pork. In the kitchen, I was busy cooking. My son was playing on the side. Mom, here are the green onions. Mom, I brought the rock candy. The childish voices of my children mingled with the gurgling, bubbling pot of gas. Everything was in the mold of happiness.